What's up, soldiers? What's up, soldiers? Your boy Chris here, CaribbeanPod.com vibes, and up in the kitchen as usual. Just came in from the backyard. I noticed I've got some kale, some Swiss chard, and Jamaican callaloo, which down in the southern Caribbean we tend to call spinach or bhagi. And I've also got fresh from the grocers salted pigtails. You're gonna like this one, man. We're gonna toss in some coconut milk, and there's all kind of goodness going on here. So kale, Swiss chard, Jamaican callaloo, vibes it up, man. So here's where I got, as we've seen before, the kale, and this here is the Swiss chard. It looks pretty close to, if you look at the stems down there, to bok choy or pak choy, but I assure you, this is not bok choy or pak choy. This is indeed, can't believe I have to explain that, but some people tend to argue with me. This is Swiss chard. So remember that Jamaican callaloo, as I mentioned. I also mentioned that down in the southern Caribbean we call this, what's some more over here? Just growing up wild. These all grew up wild here. But in the southern Caribbean we call this bhagi or just spinach. And this is the purple leaf one here. The first step we need to do, and we're talking comfort food here, so you know salted pigtails have to make an appearance. So I've got here 1 pound of salted pigtails boiling in water, maybe about an inch thick. Because of that bone, you will have to ask your butcher to cut that for you. We want to boil that for about 45 minutes to about 50 minutes or 55 minutes, just to make sure it's nice and tender and to remove the majority of salt from that. As the pigtail boils, becomes tender, and we get most of that salt out of it, it is time to sort of prep. Moving forward, I'm going to refer to everything green here as spinach because that's just the way I refer to it. But as we discussed before, we've got the kale, we've got the Swiss chard, and we've got that Jamaican callaloo here. The first thing we want to do is sort of trim it. And all I like doing is cutting off the extra, that's the end of the stem of the Swiss chard. And we're going to use everything. You want to make sure the leaves are nice and green and no blemishes. See if I could find one with blemishes. Well, there isn't any there. With the kale, I'm going to remove the sort of woody part out of it. Any sort of tough ends, it won't cook all that fast. I'm just going to move this back a bit and remove that, wash it, and then we're going to trim it later. With the Jamaican callaloo, and as I said before, because I know some people are still going to be talking about it, yes, in Trinidad, in the southern Caribbean, we may call this bhagi or spinach, and you want to remove it off the big stems. Now these stems, first of all, you can use this as well. You need to cut it up very small, but what I would recommend doing is peeling it back like that, just to get the sort of fibrous outside out of it. I won't be using any of the stems today, but if you want to stretch this dish, you can certainly use that, peel it back, and then chop it up finely. What we want to do here is get all the nice tender leaves like this, and this is fine, this is a tender stem. I'm still going to trim off a little bit out of that, and then we're going to use this with the big leaves. I'm just going to remove the sort of woody stem as well. You can use this, as I said before, you can chop this up, but again, we want the nice leaves like this. After you've separated all the leaves and trimmed it, put it in your sink with water and soak it. You want all the sand and everything, because remember, this is planted in dirt, and it can't have a lot of dirt with it. So you want to soak it, rinse it out a couple times, and then we're going to cut it up for cooking. So here we go, we've got it all trimmed and washed. So we've got the Swiss chard here, we've got the kale over there, and the Jamaican callaloo all trimmed up, washed. Step 3 is, this is where we're going to take all of the spinach, and we're just going to cut it up into maybe about a 1/2 inch thick ribbons. So this is the Jamaican callaloo here, and all I'm doing is 1/2 inch ribbons. Just want to roll it up into a nice little ball so it's easier for you. And we've got that here. And all we're going to do then is set that aside for when we're ready to cook. So I'm going to put it into a big bowl and have it ready. After about 50 minutes, the salted pigtail is nice and tender. Now I drained it, and if you want, you can repeat the process. So you can, after it's been boiling for about 20 minutes, drain that water out, put back new water, and then keep boiling for another half an hour or something. I drained it, and I'm gonna set it aside on a medium flame now. Nice big wide pan. I'm gonna go in with some olive oil, about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. Just gonna turn my heat down now to low because it's nice and warm now. Turn my heat down to low, and I've got here 1 small onion diced, and I need my heat low because I don't want the onion or anything to burn. I just want to get all that nice flavor out of it. And I've got here 4 cloves of garlic that I just smashed with the back of my knife. Remember to keep that heat nice and low, please. Here's where I'm going to go in with a couple more ingredients. For a little herbal note, I've got some fresh parsley, and I've got a couple small scallions that I chopped up. Just give that a quick stir, and we're going to go in with that pre-cooked salted pigtail. Heat still on low, and I've got here 1 Scotch bonnet pepper that I chopped up. Seeds and everything, because I like this to have a little kick. But you can, first of all, you don't need to put that Scotch bonnet in there. It's totally up to you. And second, if you want, you can leave out the seeds. You can just use the flesh, because where that seeds is, where the seeds are there, that's where most of that heat is going to be. I'm going to turn my heat up now to medium, and I'm going to start adding all that chopped, prepared spinach to the pot. It will look like quite a lot when you first start off, and I use equal parts Swiss chard, Jamaican Callaloo, and kale. And right away I'm going to go in with coconut milk, 1 can of coconut milk, just to help everything wilt down and to bring everything together. And I'm just going to continue adding all my green stuff in there until it all simmers down and can fit into the pot. After a few minutes, you can start mixing it around just to bring the more cooked spinach from the bottom up to the top and to really incorporate all the ingredients together. I'm going to put the lid on here now, remaining at that medium heat. Put the lid on there and let that go for about 20 minutes with the lid on. It's been going with the lid on for about 20 minutes. I have been every maybe 5 minutes or so stirring it, and you'll notice now that it's cooked down quite a bit, but we've still got quite a bit of coconut water, and the different greens that we use would have sprung out its own natural juices as well. So here's where I'm going to remove the lid and let that continue going, because the whole idea here now is to burn off all that liquid and bring it together. One more thing you will notice, if you're keeping track here, I didn't add any salt, because the remaining salt in the salted pigtails, even though we boiled it, it will still have some remnants of salt that will be enough to season this dish. It took another 15-20 minutes, closer to 20 minutes, for most of that liquid to burn off. There's still a slight amount in there, but here's where I like going in with a couple ingredients. And I've got some fresh lime juice. Don't worry about that. I zest it, but I still need the juice from it. It's about a tablespoon or so of fresh lime juice or lemon juice. This way, sometimes I tend to get a sort of an itch in the back of my throat when I eat greens, and that seems to help. The other thing is, while I was outside in the garden there, I found some cherry tomato. So that have to make its appearance in here as well. But that's it, a lovely, well, I keep saying spinach, but it's really bhagi or different forms of greens. 3 spinach, sort of oil down something with that pigtail and everything. It doesn't get more comfort food than this, man. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Always a pleasure to have you guys here in the kitchen with me. Vibes it up, man.